So this same article I read, which was written about 2 months after you launched Salary Transparent Street, said that you
Hmm.
had about 600,000 followers on TikTok already.
Hmm.
And that's crazy to me because now you have about 1.3 million, which is, only twice as much, huge number, but only
Yeah.
twice as much. So I'm curious about like the audience growth journey.
Hmm.
And, just TikTok for now, and then maybe getting into the other platforms. But was it really just so
Hmm.
meteoric and then it kind of steady after that? Or how did that happen?
Meteoric is an understatement. Like, I think I went to bed the first night, like April 16th, 2022, 0 followers, like a completely blank slate. First video, no followers. When I woke up the next morning, I think we had like 50K. And, like you said, it took me 4 months to get 40K on my personal account. So, like, that is it was in that moment that I realized, I've definitely got something here. Like, this is crazy. And as it kept growing, the 600K in the first few months, it was definitely a confirmation that we could create a business out of it and, actually continue doing this. But it was also a little scary. And I wouldn't recommend it. I almost wish that we had the slow burn because when we grew so fast, it almost felt like we didn't know who our audience was because there were so many different types of people. Like on TikTok, we're not just popular in the United States. We have an audience like in India, in Nigeria, in Australia, in Canada. And I'm like, I don't, how do I make sure that I'm catering to their needs as well? And Americans. And it was very difficult to kind of understand who our community and our audience was. But, over time, we're almost 2 years old. We've definitely defined who our audience is and what they want. And that really just comes down to being very engaged with them. You can't create a platform like this and have a meteoric rise and immediately start getting an ego. I encourage our audience to give us critical feedback. Whenever we have meetups, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? What do you want to see? What are we not doing? And I take that feedback incredibly to heart because that's who I'm creating content for. I started this as a little hobby, but at the end of the day, the impact is with them. And if I'm not meeting their needs, they're going to unfollow me, and that's murder in this industry. So I really need to make sure that I understand them. So having that meteoric rise was difficult to have an understanding of them. But as long as you're engaged, which is what we did, I think we've figured it out.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Thank you for that. You get this huge audience and you're like, great. But yeah, it's like, what do you do with it? Which I think so many people starting out, like people I hear from writing this newsletter, like they don't even have an audience in mind and like a specific audience. And I think like that's so crucial, which looking at your work, my impression was at the beginning, the audience is just like people who live in America and have a job and like
Mm-hmm.
maybe have anxiety about how much they're paid or like want to make more money, which is,
Mm-hmm.
you could say that's like the entire adult population of this
Yeah.
country. So was that like basically it was just simple as that at the beginning, and how has that changed over time? Like what does it develop to now?
Yeah, it was definitely a general overview when we started. We were like, people that are looking for jobs, that's all we knew. And now, reading the comments, reading the DMs, and talking to people, we've been able to really break out our audience into specific groups, and they're all different, right? There's the younger Gen Z demographic, and they're usually looking for opportunities. And in that same vein, we have Gen X, believe it or not. People think that our biggest community or followers are Gen Z, but actually our audience skews largely older millennial and Gen X because a lot of them will comment and say, I sent this to my nephew. I share these videos with my daughter. Like they're looking out for these opportunities as well. So that younger generation, it's really like, okay, let's give them the information that we didn't get as students, to learn about these different careers. And then there's the actual workers. There's the ones that are in their career that are looking to transition because they're unhappy, they're underpaid. They're looking for careers that they can break into, not entry level, but easy to transition. What kind of skills do they need to do that? And then there's the people that just want to make a lot of money, like the ones that are looking for the opportunities to advance, the ones that are looking to grow. It's interesting how these conversations can really go in so many different areas, but I think it's incredibly valuable that our audience meets so many, or our content meets so many different needs.